First of all, we are absolutely honored and thrilled to welcome President Aquino here at the Asia Society. We feel that this is really a home of the Aquino family in some ways. We've had the honor and pleasure of having hosted his father, his late father, Ninoy Aquino, in 1980, when he did the major speech saying, Filipino is worth dying for. And then when his mother, Cory Aquino, became the president, we had the occasion and an honor of hosting her as well. On top of that, we ourselves, as a global organization, have a center in Manila, so that in fact we feel that our connection to the Philippines is very, very strong. So it just seemed like it was a given that he should come here. So that's number one. Number two, I do believe that there's a tremendous amount of expectations and hopes for President Aquino in terms of a new chapter in the Philippines' life. And I think that the people here want to hear what it is that he's going to do that's different. And I think he's already shown some signals in the domestic situation. So there is high expectations and high hopes for his speech and what he will say. Well, I do think that he has managed to convey an image of not only a decent human being, but truly committed to transparency. And everybody feels that he says what he means. It's not just some kind of a jargon, that it is not simply lots of big token speeches, but to really try to make a difference there. And I think that one has to give him very high marks for that. And the Philippines is a very noisy democracy, like the United States and India and other places. So to actually rise above that and still make a difference, I think is a big accomplishment. I do think that one will want to hear about the economy, how the Philippines is connecting to China and other parts of Southeast Asia. That will be another piece that one will want to hear more about. And the third part is that in the ASEAN region, how in fact, like former President Ramos, who took a very big leadership role, one will want to know what President Aquino is thinking about within the ASEAN context, what his role ought to be. Well, I think, it is not my role to advise President Aquino or his government about what they should do in the foreign policy. Because the truth of the matter is that as a Secretary of State, former Secretary of State Kissinger has famously said, all foreign policy is national. So that you have to do what is in the national interest of your country, and that only the president and his cabinet can decide. However, clearly this issue of domestic workers, remittances that come from all over the world, especially for Filipino domestic workers in the Middle East, in Hong Kong, obviously these issues have been bubbling around for a long time. So he has to, of course, pay attention. But I do think that sometimes in many of our countries, we focus in on just those issues where there are also macro foreign policy issues. So often domestically, as is true here as well, and in other democratic countries, we really have to make sure that we give our leaders some leeway where some foreign policy issues are not just about your domestic concern. And how to balance those two is also important. First of all, let me just say that Asia Society is a unique organization founded by John D. Rockefeller III, who incidentally had very deep interest in the Philippines and in fact was instrumental in starting the Magsaysay Awards in the Philippines. This was in 1956. 1956, when this institution was founded, nobody thought that Asia was going to be that important because this was right after the wars, if you believe. So in fact, for him to have this vision that Americans needed to know more about Asia, Asian cultures, and the current issues was really very farsighted. And well, I'm happy to say that now, some 57 years later, we don't have to make an argument that Asia is important. That job is done. But we do feel as an institution, we're a global institution committed to strengthening partnerships and mutual understanding among peoples of Asia and the United States. And we do this through arts, culture, education, policy, as well as business programs. So we're very much about a comprehensive engagement with all parts of Asia, but not just between Asia and the United States, but also among Asian countries. And we have 10 centers beyond New York, and these are not necessarily member countries, but these are really centers where there was local interest in starting an operation to connect into the global network. Today, we are very committed to actually making sure that the global community is strengthened within the Asia-Pacific region through our network of programs and peoples. Well, one of the arguments we make is that our job is to prepare Asians and Americans for a shared future, meaning that issues like environment, globalization and its impact on people, or even issues around trade, these are issues that are multilateral. We have to come together. We have to have voices that are heard from all parts. But that is one area that we work with. The other area is to say that foundational understanding of individual cultures of Asia is also important, because often misunderstandings are created because we don't understand each other. So we have to understand culture, values, and make them as the bedrock on which you build issues of discussion that are of mutual concern. Well, I think that for us, in Manila, it was established because of one of the great leaders of the Philippines, Wash Sisip and Doris Ho, really were committed to wanting to have a presence of Asia Society in Manila. There, they have taken a very serious role in creating a kind of a regional chapter of young leaders. And in Manila, it's called, in fact, the Philippine Asia 21. This is a network of programs that we do everywhere. And they're really looking at social entrepreneurship. They're looking at how young people, by building broader communities, can make a difference in the society. And the Philippines has really taken a lead in developing this compared to other centers. Well, you know, this was something that we've been talking about for a while. And initially, it came very much out of the desire that if you're really a global organization or a transnational organization, where we have taken the word American out of our mission statement, only our headquarters are in New York. We really want to, and our ambition is to really build this global network. Then, with rise of Asia, if you want to create parity and partnership, we have to do it everywhere, starting with chairs of the board. And so that's how we developed this idea that we have to really walk the walk and talk the talk. And that has to do with both parts of the world coming together in a leadership position. I myself, being of Asian origin, I'm the first Asian American president of this institution. I feel very proud that I think that we really do mean when we say that this is about partnership. It isn't just a token statement. And that, out of that commitment and conviction of the board and myself, we came to this conclusion that this was a good idea. We very much hope so. That is our plan.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.